This is Pastor Greg Mayhorn. I'm glad that you're joining me today. I'm talking about being led by the Spirit of God. It's one of the most important things that a believer can ever learn from the Bible, because if we're going to walk out the perfect will of God, the plan of God, however you want to say it, the things God's prepared for us, it's going to be necessary to be led by the Spirit. I wish God would tell me more things ahead of time, like maybe a year ahead or 2 years ahead. And there are occasions when God will reveal vision that's far removed from the present. In other words, He'll tell you some things about your life. But almost always, that will be a picture way out there, and then we have to walk the steps to get there. It's kind of like God, who is outside of time, we know. He's eternal. He moves into time with a word, and He's way out there, maybe 20 years, 30 years ahead. And then when we receive that word, we find ourselves here in the now, and we have to walk that out to get to that goal or that blessed hope that He has for us, the call or whatever it may be, the plan of God. But the good part is God will walk with you every step. He's not going to leave you alone. And one of the keys to that walkway is to follow the Spirit. So you'll know when you might need to make an adjustment to the left or to the right, so you'll know when you need to change something. You know, we're in Virginia here, and if I were taking off from an airport here in Virginia, going to Los Angeles tonight, it would be very important that flight be properly navigated, because in the long distance from the East Coast to the West Coast, if we're off just a few degrees on the compass, we're going to miss the Los Angeles airport. We're not going to, we won't even see the airport if we're just, a few degrees off here, because the further we go, the further off we become. Now, a lot of people's lives are in a mess because of that. Now, I'm not saying that's the only reason people have problems, but one reason many people have so many problems is because they're off course. Somewhere back there, they missed the leading of the Lord. Have you ever been on an interstate in a large city that you weren't familiar with, and you found yourself going on an exit ramp, and you realize, I'm not supposed to be doing this, but you can't stop and you can't back up? You just got to go and then find your way back. And you may have to go several blocks around and make some, horseshoe curve turns and things to finally get back just to where you were. Well, a lot of people are there today. They've got some traveling to do before they can even get back to where they were when they first got off. And, of course, the problem with this is we've lost that time. And, of course, time is something we have a limited amount of in this life. And so what I'm talking about is very important, because none of us, regardless of how young we are or old we are, none of us can afford to waste this precious time if we're going to fulfill the purposes of God. And so we've got to learn to be led by the Spirit. It's so important. Last week I shared with you the importance of the Word of God. And I'm going to say a few more things about that today. I feel like that I need to. Because a lot of times people just want the Lord to speak to them, or they want somebody they consider very spiritual to deliver to them a word of prophecy or something, and so that they'll know what to do. But the truth is, God will never lead us in contradiction to His Word. Which means, for instance, when the book of Hebrews chapter 10, verse 23 tells us that we are supposed to go to church, it says not neglect the assemblings of ourselves together, then that means that if I'm not going to church, then I'm out of the will of God. And one of the things we need to understand about finding the will of God, being led by the Lord, is that it's very difficult to be led by the Lord in one area over here when I'm willfully disobeying God in this other area over here. God just has this thing, He believes He's God, and I'm not. And so therefore I've got to submit. And the first place of submission for my life to be a success in the eyes of God is to submit to His written Word. I hope you'll do the same.